Alright, it's time for episode 4 of Dragon Ball Super Duper Awesome. This is the episode that's called Aim for the Dragon Balls, Pilaf Gang's Grand Strategy. So obviously this is an episode where they're gonna reintroduce motherfucking Pilaf, Mai, and Shu, these same three assholes who are always dicking around constantly in Resurrection of Frieza, at the beginning of Dragon Ball, the beginning of Dragon Ball GT. They're the ones who released Piccolo towards the end of Dragon Ball. They're just always fucking around, and quite frankly, Pilaf is pretty annoying. But the episode opens up with Beerus and Whis. They're still headed towards King Kai's planet, and Beerus is complaining about the food that Whis has prepared for him, and says that he's getting sick of the taste. And Whis mentions, well, that's bullshit because you've only ever had this once before. But I thought that this was actually kind of interesting because this is definitely some possible foreshadowing about why Beerus would eventually decide not to destroy the Earth, is all of the ridiculously awesome morsels and tasty food that he gets to eat there. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that that's what this scene was trying to encompass, is that the food on Earth is just the best by far. So that's, they're trying to set it up so that when Beerus, decides not to destroy Earth, at least there's some clear evidence as to why not, just aside from Goku himself. After this, it cuts over to King Kai. King Kai, Goku is still training, but King Kai is freaking out because just like the Elder Kai and Kibito Kai, King Kai is able to sense Beerus's godly energy, and he can tell that Beerus is on his way. And so King Kai is doing his usual freaking out, and Goku's kind of like, hey, what's going on? And King Kai quickly tries to change the subject, and he mentions Bulma's birthday and stuff, and just overall just tries to make sure that Goku just does not know who Beerus is. After this, it cuts back to Bulma's birthday on the cruise ship, and, we get to see all the characters still, having fun. Dende and Piccolo are talking about whatever Namekians talk about. One thing I do have to mention, though, that just made me laugh, is, so they show a clear shot of the Ox King. And number one, it's just crazy to think about how much, the design of his character changes from the very first time you see him in Dragon Ball. He first shows up, that's episode, what? Maybe 7 or 8 of Dragon Ball? Maybe episode 9 or 6? Somewhere in that range. So he shows up way, way at the beginning of the show. And back then, he's this terrifying, horrible monster. But here, this motherfucker's wearing a tie with a wife beater. I'm like, what the fuck is this, Ox King? And I love how, in the first episode, in order to kind of explain that, oh, Goku needs to work for money for Chi-Chi, there's a quick throwaway line by Goten that Ox King is broke now, and it's like, what the fuck? What about in Dragon Ball when he had a castle full of treasure? The very last episode of Dragon Ball when Goku and Chi-Chi get married, that whole last little saga, motherfucking Ox King is a bajillionaire. Come on now. After this, Trunks decides to show Goten all of the bingo prizes. A little earlier, there's a little bit of a scene where Android 18 is asking Bulma about, is it true, the second place prize for the bingo is a castle? And then you see Trunks showing Goten this room that has all the prizes, and you see, this ridiculously awesome sports car, there's a plane, a castle, but then Trunks wants to show Goten what the grand prize is, and he opens up this thing, and this big metal contraption comes up that's surrounded by a barrier, and Trunks is like, yeah, the invention's great, but everything's got a weakness, and it's literally just plugged into an outlet on the wall, and he just unplugs it, and they look inside and see that the 7 Dragon Balls are inside this machine thing, and that obviously the barrier was preventing their signal to be picked up by anyone that might have a Dragon radar. So then, of course, cue the introduction of the Pilaf Gang, They're on some desert island. Clearly Pilaf got swindled. He spent money on a treasure map, but there's no treasure. But he manages to notice on his dragon radar that all 7 Dragon Balls are together, and just by the sheer coincidence of coincidences, it's on the cruise ship that literally is going by this island Pilaf and them are on at that exact moment. So he says, well shit, let's go get the Dragon Balls. And it's actually kind of funny. They're in this little dinky rowboat, and, you know, it's taking on water, and they end up, you know, falling overboard into the water, and then a shark is chasing them. Very reminiscent to earlier at the beginning of Dragon Ball, when Krillin and Goku are training with Master Roshi. And one of the training exercises is they have to swim through a lake that's full of man-eating sharks. And this scene is very similar. Trunks and Goten actually help the Pilaf Gang out and throw down a rope ladder so that they're able to get onto the boats. Because they don't know who the Pilaf Gang is, but they're not that much of a threat anyway. Then it cuts over to Vegeta. Now, Vegeta is training in his 150 times gravity, and he stops and says, ha! Now even 150 times gravity is not even a challenge for me. And I was like, wait, pause, hold up. Okay, Vegeta was training in 300 times Earth's gravity before he ever became Super Saiyan 1. I'm like, what the fuck? This is craziness. Like, Vegeta, 150 times gravity is nothing to Vegeta. Why? They should have shown him training in like 500 times Earth's gravity. So already that just doesn't make sense. I'm a little disappointed in that. I feel like that's a little bit of not paying attention to some details by the creators, perhaps, because, you know, 150 times gravity is not shit to Vegeta. His training is interrupted. An attendant comes in because Bulma is calling and she wants the phone given to Vegeta so that Vegeta can come to her birthday. And Vegeta is playing it tough and he's like, ah, fuck that shit. But come on, we know Vegeta's gonna end up at that party. Then it just cuts up for the last segment over to King Kai's planet. King Kai accidentally lets it slip about Beerus, and so then he explains who Beerus is to Goku and says, under any circumstances, you must not challenge him. Do not play any bullshit. Do not challenge Beerus. He's too strong. Don't do it. And, like, pretty much right after that, Beerus and Whis arrive on the planet. But just before they arrive, King Kai is able to push Goku into his house and turns around, and then Beerus and Whis arrive, and Beerus steps out and has just the nastiest smirk on his face. And it's like, oh boy, that actually is kind of terrifying right there. So, you know, this episode was pretty interesting. This is probably the slowest of all the episodes. This felt like a full episode of filler to me, honestly, because remember, it was the end of the last episode when Beerus and Whis left to go to King Kai's planet, and this full episode, they were just traveling. Really, the only major thing that happens in this episode is that Goku finds out who Beerus and Whis are, and that they arrive on King Kai's planet. I mean, everything else is kind of meh. I mean, you are shown that all 7 Dragon Balls are collected on the cruise ship, I guess. But the scenes for the next episode show, pretty much all the scenes, it's showing, you know, Goku and Beerus battling. So, we know for sure that the next episode is going to be Goku versus Beerus. So that is pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, I am definitely pretty excited to see Goku versus Beerus. So next time, very super duper exciting, an actual battle is taking place. This pretty much is going to be the first battle so far in Dragon Ball Super, unless you want to count, I mean, I guess you can count Beerus versus that alien, but that was under a minute, or maybe Goten and Trunks versus that snake, but, you know, it's a giant snake. It's not really much of a battle there. But, alright. I'll see you guys for episode 5.